The courtroom was suffocatingly silent. Not a single cough, not a single murmur. Just pure, deafening stillness as all eyes turned to the small child standing beside her mother. Then, she spoke again. "Judge, I'm really hungry." The words cut through the tense atmosphere like a knife. The stenographer's fingers hovered above the keyboard, frozen. The bailiff, a man built like a tank, shifted awkwardly on his feet. Even the audience, who had seen their fair share of shocking moments, sat in stunned silence. And then there was Judge Judy. Her eyes narrowed. Her famous no-nonsense expression remained unreadable, as if she were processing what had just happened. The mother standing at the defendant's table turned ghostly pale. Had her daughter just made things worse? Seconds stretched on like hours. The tension in the air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. And then, Judge Judy finally moved. She leaned forward, placing both hands on the bench. Her sharp gaze flickered between the mother and the child. And then, to everyone's utter shock, she smiled. But what she said next? No one saw it coming. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video, comment below on what you think is about to happen, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping real-life stories. Ava Carter never thought she would find herself in a courtroom, standing before one of the toughest judges in the country. She wasn't a criminal. She wasn't reckless. She was just a mother trying to get through each day, doing everything she could to give her daughter a decent life. But sometimes, even trying your best wasn't enough. The morning had started like any other, chaotic and exhausting. Ava had barely gotten any sleep. She worked long shifts at the diner, coming home late, only to wake up before dawn to do it all over again. But today was different. Today, her 6-year-old daughter Lily had woken up with a fever. Her little face was flushed, her tiny body weak and tired. Ava felt panic rise in her chest. She knew she had to get medicine right away. The clock was ticking. She had to get to work, but there was no way she was leaving her daughter without something to bring the fever down. She rushed to get Lily dressed, wrapped her in the warmest coat they had, and drove straight to the nearest pharmacy. The parking lot was packed. There wasn't a single open spot. Ava circled once, twice. Time was slipping away, and she still had to grab the medicine, drop Lily off at daycare, and somehow make it to her shift on time. Then she saw it. A spot right by the entrance. It had a "Permit Holders Only" sign posted clear as day. Ava hesitated. She knew the risk. She knew she wasn't supposed to park there. But her daughter was sick. Her job was on the line. What choice did she have? "Just 5 minutes," she told herself as she pulled in and turned off the car. She ran inside, grabbed the medicine, and rushed back out. But the moment she saw her windshield, her heart dropped. A bright orange ticket flapped in the wind, stuck under her wiper. Her hands trembled as she yanked it free and scanned the words printed in bold. A $500 fine. Ava felt like the air had been knocked from her lungs. $500. That was more than she made in a week. More than half her rent. More than she could afford. Tears burned in her eyes as she glanced at Lily in the back seat, still sniffling, her small hands clutching the medicine bottle. Ava's chest tightened. She had only wanted to help her daughter, and now she was being punished for it. She couldn't pay the fine. There was no way. So, with no other option, she decided to fight it. A week later, Ava walked into the courthouse, her stomach in knots. She had rehearsed her argument over and over. She would explain why she had parked there, why she had no other choice. Maybe, just maybe, the judge would understand. She never imagined that a single sentence from her daughter would change everything. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension. Ava stood before Judge Judy, her pulse racing as she clutched the edges of the podium. She had spent the entire week preparing what to say, practicing every possible response in her head. She would explain calmly, respectfully, and with as much detail as possible. If the judge could just see the impossible position she had been in, maybe she would show some leniency. Judge Judy adjusted her glasses and glanced at the paperwork in front of her. "You parked illegally in a permit-only spot, correct?" Ava swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes, Your Honor, but—" Before she could finish, a small voice interrupted her. "Judge, I'm really hungry." The courtroom went completely silent. The murmurs from the audience died instantly. The stenographer hesitated, fingers hovering over the keys. The bailiff, a man who had likely seen it all, actually raised an eyebrow. Ava's blood ran cold. Her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, stood beside her, looking up at the judge with wide, innocent eyes. She clutched Ava's sleeve, completely unaware of the weight of her words. Ava's stomach clenched. This wasn't supposed to happen. She had brought Lily along hoping her presence would help the judge see her as a struggling mother, not as someone trying to break the rules. But now, she feared it was a mistake. Judge Judy's gaze snapped to Lily, her expression unreadable. The entire courtroom held its breath, waiting for the inevitable outburst. Ava turned toward her daughter, kneeling quickly to whisper in her ear. "Sweetheart, not now. We have to wait until we're done." Lily blinked up at her, confused. "But my tummy is rumbling," she said softly, rubbing her stomach. "I didn't get breakfast." A fresh wave of embarrassment flooded through Ava. Judge Judy slowly leaned forward, resting her elbows on the desk. She studied Lily carefully before shifting her sharp gaze back to Ava. "You're telling me that you brought your daughter into my courtroom, and she hasn't eaten?" Ava's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to explain, to tell the judge how she had rushed to court first thing in the morning, how she had barely had enough gas to get there, how stopping for breakfast wasn't an option, but all she could do was nod. The tension in the room was suffocating. Judge Judy exhaled through her nose, then turned to the bailiff. "Go get the kids something to eat." A ripple of surprise moved through the audience. Even the bailiff hesitated. "Your Honor." Judge Judy didn't blink. "You heard me." Ava stood frozen as the bailiff disappeared through a side door. Her mind raced. What was happening? Was this some kind of test? Was the judge about to use this as an example of poor parenting? Lily, completely unfazed, simply swayed on her feet, waiting. Minutes later, the bailiff returned carrying a brown paper bag. He handed it to Judge Judy, who in turn passed it to Lily. "There," the judge said. "Now eat." Lily's eyes lit up as she eagerly dug into the sandwich inside. Ava's hands trembled as she whispered, "Thank you." Judge Judy waved off the gratitude. "I'm not done yet." Ava stiffened. She could still lose this case. Judge Judy tapped her fingers against the desk. "Now let's get to the real issue." She glanced back at the paperwork. "You knowingly parked in a permit-only zone. What makes you think you shouldn't have to pay the fine?" Ava took a deep breath. This was it. Her chance to explain. She lifted her chin and told her story. She spoke about waking up that morning to Lily's fever, about the panic of knowing she had no choice but to get medicine before work. She described the desperation of circling the parking lot, watching the minutes tick by, and making the split-second decision that led her here. "I wasn't trying to break the rules," she said, her voice steady. "I was trying to take care of my daughter." The courtroom remained silent as she spoke. For the first time since entering the courthouse, she saw something shift in Judge Judy's expression. Not anger, not impatience. Something else. Judge Judy glanced down at her papers again, then at Lily, who was happily munching away. She exhaled, drumming her nails against the desk. Then, to everyone's shock, she leaned forward and said, "You made a bad decision." Ava's heart plummeted. "But," Judge Judy continued, "sometimes bad decisions are made for the right reasons." Ava's breath caught. Judge Judy looked directly into her eyes. And I'm going to make sure that this moment isn't just a lesson in consequences, but an opportunity for change." The courtroom gasped. No one could have predicted what Judge Judy would do next. Judge Judy sat back in her chair, studying Ava carefully. The courtroom was so silent that Ava could hear her own heartbeat hammering in her chest. "You made a mistake," Judge Judy said, her voice sharp but controlled. "You broke the rules. That's a fact." Ava braced herself for the inevitable ruling, the crushing fine, the stern lecture. She had fought as hard as she could, but it wouldn't matter. But then Judge Judy did something that left the entire courtroom stunned. She tore the parking ticket in half. Gasps erupted from the audience. The stenographer's hands froze above the keyboard. Even the bailiff, a man who had seen it all, looked genuinely shocked. Ava felt dizzy. Did she just dismiss the fine? Judge Judy dropped the torn ticket onto her desk and leaned forward. "I'm waiving the fine," she said. "You won't pay a cent." Ava's knees nearly buckled. She had imagined this moment 100 different ways, but not like this. Lily, still chewing on her sandwich, looked up and grinned. "Thanks, lady." The entire courtroom burst into laughter. Judge Judy shook her head but smirked slightly. "It's your honor, kid." Ava swallowed the lump in her throat. "Thank you, Your Honor," she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. But Judge Judy wasn't finished. She motioned to the bailiff, who brought over a thick folder. He handed it to Ava. "What's this?" she asked hesitantly. Judge Judy tapped her desk. "Inside that folder is a list of community resources," she said. "Programs that help single mothers with financial aid, job training, and even scholarships for online degrees." Ava's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. She saw programs for affordable housing, childcare assistance, and career development. But then, at the very bottom, one page caught her eye. A fully funded scholarship for single mothers who wanted to go back to school. She gasped. Judge Judy nodded. "I don't just want you to get out of this fine. I want you to get out of the cycle that brought you here in the first place." Ava covered her mouth with her hands. For years, she had buried her dreams, convinced they were out of reach. She had accepted that life would always be a struggle. But now, she had a way out. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Judge Judy gave a small, knowing smile. "Say you'll use it." Ava nodded fiercely. "I will." Judge Judy slammed her gavel down. "Case dismissed." The courtroom erupted into applause. As Ava turned to leave, holding Lily's hand and clutching the folder to her chest, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Ava stepped out of the courthouse, the world outside feeling different. For years, she had walked with her shoulders hunched under the weight of stress, of bills she couldn't pay, of working long hours just to stay afloat. But today she walked out with hope. She clutched the folder Judge Judy had given her, holding it as tightly as she held Lily's hand. This wasn't just paperwork, it was a chance, a way out of the cycle she had been trapped in for so long. Lily skipped beside her, completely unaware of how much their lives had just changed. "Mommy," she said, tugging on Ava's sleeve, "can we get ice cream now?" Ava laughed through her tears. "Yes, sweetheart, we can get ice cream." That night, after putting Lily to bed, Ava sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she had spent countless nights crying over unpaid bills. But tonight, she wasn't looking at overdue notices. She was flipping through the scholarship application. She hesitated, doubt creeping in. Could she really do this? Work, raise Lily, and go to school? Then she thought about Judge Judy's words. "Say you'll use it." She grabbed a pen, took a deep breath, and started filling out the application. Over the next few weeks, Ava threw herself into change. She applied for assistance programs that helped her afford better childcare. She took on a few extra shifts at the diner to start saving money. And every night, after Lily was asleep, She studied for the entrance exam required for the scholarship. It was exhausting. It was overwhelming. But for the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving, she was building. Then, one afternoon, while wiping down a table at the diner, her phone buzzed with an email notification. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Congratulations, Ava Carter. You've been awarded the scholarship." Ava let out a small, choked gasp, covering her mouth with her hand. She did it. She had won the scholarship. Tears slipped down her face as she stared at the screen. Lily ran up to her, concerned. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Ava scooped her up in a tight hug. "Nothing's wrong, baby," she whispered. "Everything is finally right." 1 year later, Ava stood behind the counter of a bakery, adjusting the display of fresh pastries. The warm scent of vanilla and cinnamon filled the air. But this wasn't just any bakery. This was her bakery. She had done it. She had worked late nights, studied harder than she ever thought possible, and earned her business degree through the scholarship Judge Judy had given her. Along the way, she had been offered a managerial position at a local bakery. And when the owner decided to retire, he made her an offer, a chance to buy the business. Ava took the leap. Now she wasn't just someone struggling to get by, she was a business owner. The door chimed and Ava turned to see a familiar sight. A young mother stepped inside, exhaustion written all over her face. A little boy clung to her leg, looking up at the glass case filled with cupcakes. Ava recognized that look. The same look she had worn not too long ago, a mother doing everything she could, but still feeling like it wasn't enough. Ava smiled warmly and stepped around the counter. "Hi there," she said gently. "Can I get you a cup of coffee? It's on the house." The woman blinked, surprised. "Oh, thank you. That would be amazing." Ava turned to the little boy. "And for you, I think a cupcake is in order." His eyes lit up as she handed him a small vanilla cupcake with rainbow sprinkles. As she watched them settle into a corner booth, something inside her clicked. She had come full circle. Once, she had been the struggling mom hoping for kindness. Now, she was the one giving it. And that was the greatest success of all. If this story touched your heart, remember, one moment of kindness can change a life forever. Judge Judy gave Ava a chance, but it was Ava's determination that turned it into something greater. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe in second chances? What would you have done if you were in Judge Judy's seat? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story inspired you, take a second to like this video to spread the message of kindness. Subscribe for more incredible real-life stories. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.